Today we're going to demonstrate holiday nut roast. By its very name, this is designed for holiday. It can be used throughout the year, but oftentimes at the holidays, it's a little difficult sometimes to find a plant-based product which everybody loves. This is a savory product that's very similar to a meatloaf. What we have is we're going to use 1 cup of tofu. This is actually silken sprouted tofu. You can use any tofu. It doesn't matter if it's firm or extra firm because we're just going to blend it, so it just doesn't matter. But you need a cup of tofu. We actually have 1 teaspoon of sage, a teaspoon and a half of salt, a tablespoon of onion powder, 2 cloves of garlic, 2 cups of pecans. We have 2 cups of onions. You don't want to scrimp on the onions. We really feel it's probably the onions that make this the savory texture and flavor that you're really seeking. We have 2 cups of Special K cereal, just the regular Special K you'd find in your grocery store. If you see this on our website, this is the one thing that we've added. You don't have to use the Special K, but we feel it adds a little loft and some flavor. And we're also going to make our own breadcrumbs out of some homemade whole wheat bread that we made yesterday. And you'll see as we go along how to make those breadcrumbs. You don't have to buy them. We already have the seasonings, so just because it's not dry, it is okay that it's moist because those breadcrumbs add moisture to the product and it's going to work out fine. You'll see that we want to make it to a meatloaf texture and it's going to be baking for a long time. This is an hour and a half. That's much longer than you would cook typical roast, but that's how you're going to dry it out, allow those flavors to infuse throughout the roast. It's going to cook at for an hour and a half at 350 degrees. So let's get started. We're going to start initially with our tofu. I'm going to open it and drain it. It calls for a cup, and I'm going to guess that that's a cup. How about that? We're going to put in a half a cup of water into our Cuisinart. We're going to add all of our seasonings, a teaspoon of sage, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 1 tablespoon of garlic powder, not salt, 2 cloves of garlic, and we're just going to blend those. It doesn't take too long to get that done. We're going to put this into a stainless steel bowl. It's not that important that you clean this out. We're going to add other products in here to blend, and they're all going to go into the same end product, so it doesn't matter that this bowl doesn't get cleaned in between. So now we're going to add our pecans and our onions back into the Cuisinart food processor. You don't have to have a Cuisinart. Back into your food processor, we're going to blend those. You want this blended very well. You want the onions to be very pulverized, and that's what we're doing right now. We have a couple of stray pecans, which didn't get mixed, but I think for the most part we're okay. I'm going to put that in. And then we're going to show you how to do the breadcrumbs. It's really very easy if you have a food processor. There's no reason to purchase breadcrumbs. If you have, you can use any bread you want. We're using whole wheat bread that I actually made myself. And we're just going to put in several pieces. You can just tear it up, put it in here. We'll get that started. And then we can just add some more. We're going to end up using, we need about 3 cups. And we're going to end up using most of this loaf of bread. Let's see how we're doing. As you can see, we have breadcrumbs made ourselves at a fraction of the cost as you would pay if you were to buy it. And then we're going to add our 2 cups of Special K cereal. We're going to mix this all up, and then we're going to put it in the oven. It's kind of good if you cover it with some foil for about an hour, for the first hour, and then take it off for the last 30 minutes of cooking. So you want a nice kind of crunchy surface throughout. And because of the seasonings and what we put in here, it's very savory and your family's going to love it. So you can see we've got it all mixed up. We have a small amount of oil put onto our baking dish. We're going to put that right into the baking dish. And you actually don't want this to be very tall. If you've doubled this recipe, you want to make it either into 2 baking dishes or get a very large one. You want it to be about 1 inch to 1.5 inches deep. You want it to dry out. You want it to end up having the similar texture of a meatloaf. And this is just about the right thickness. You want to make it all smoothed off. And again, you want to cover this with foil for the first hour at 350 degrees. And for the last hour, take the foil off, put a nice kind of brown surface to it, and your family's going to love this. So here we have our holiday nut roast after it's baked. It looks beautiful, and we're going to slice it, and we're going to show you what it looks like as we put it on the plate. It's fairly dry, which is what you want. It's very much like a meatloaf. There you have it. We have paired it with our gravy. We just whipped this up in five minutes or so. This recipe is on our website. It's our nut gravy. So there you have it. Holiday nut roast.